Hi, I'm Hsing-ay Hsu, and I'm here at Klavierhaus in New York City with founder Sujatri Reisinger.
I have to thank you. You know, I've been working with pianos 40 years, and it's hardly anybody who is conscious of sound. Hardly anybody, because everybody's so possessed with the composer, performer, you know, what people are saying. But to actually focus to the sound and the sound wave impact on the psyche or the anatomy is so crucial. I think it should be a study next to piano performance of what is sound, what is that you work with actually does to you.
Yes.
Because if you understand this, then you can share it with others. If it's not, if you don't point to Chopin or Brahms, that they knew that's hiding. No, you know, and here it is, and now you know, and that would be great. I hope we can continue the journey and explore the nature of sound wave and the phenomenon, the impact on a listener of the accents, the silence between notes.
Yes.
I think it's so important.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we're going to be doing a live interaction like this. We're going to have a New York premiere with a violist and explore more.
You know, there were about 300 piano makers altogether, but everybody wanted to build pianos. That was NASA at that time. Everybody had a place. So it was not that this is the best brand and you know those are the cheaper one. Everybody had another philosophy, and you would have 3, 4, 5 different ones for a concert, and they were able to choose based on the repertoire. And then the only person does this today is Andras Schiff, and he shows up with a Bösendorfer and a Hamburg Steinway on stage, and people are upset that he's showing off and so forth. But he very consciously utilizing the benefit of one instrument, built differently than the Steinway, and he can get much closer to what he wants to express. But now, because of the big concert halls and large orchestras, the piano makers had to go in the direction of power. And I'm not sure that the lyrical qualities of the French instrument of the era was brought into our times. So many artists, when they listen to old recording, they are asking me, where is it? Where is that sound? And so the knowledge of acoustics cannot be separated from building a piano.
This rosewood is a B, 7
Yes.
foot. And then we have a C, and then we have a D, the biggest. And
Yeah.
was there a particular reason that they wanted to make a B?
The C was more of the instrument of the time, the 7/5, but the B model is more practical.
It's very powerful, and there's a lot of richness. Yeah, and part of it is the wood.
I always have to refer to a violin maker that would always listen to the resonance of the wood.
Yeah.
Because once you put it together, it's the combination of all the resonance is what you have. So when you have wood that the grain is not, it's not singing, they would call singing wood, with a specific grain per inch, very consciously crafting it, so it would receive sound wave and it would efficiently perform. Also we curve it, we taper it. So it's very much like a suspended bridge. It is crafted in a way that is dying to have energy which will come from your finger. The wood that used is always spruce. And the spruce is the only tree that can carry sound waves along the grain and across the grain.
I'm hearing a lot of different colors in the registers.
Yeah.
So this powerful bass here has a lot of depth.
Yep.
And then here, this is mellower than the bass and the top, which is quite bright.
Yeah.
So there's more contrast in between
Yep.
the registers. And then let's try this. This is the new instrument, 1985?
Yes, 1985.
Yeah, so, and this is the biggest one. So I'm hearing more of like a uniform amount of resonance. Also, there's a sweetness in this one that I really love. If I'm thinking about like luminosity, like there's a glow.
Yeah.
And is that attached to it being the 9 foot, the bigger size?
The whole idea of different sizes, it comes from a simple physical phenomenon that, let's say you play the middle C,
Yeah.
and you need a certain length, diameter, and tension on the string to produce middle C. Mm-hmm. If you want to go an octave lower, you have to double the mass. We would have to have a 32 feet piano with pure steel wire of the same principle, but it's not possible. So then they started compromising and adding the copper here in the base. You decrease the length and you increase the diameter. The less compromise, the better sounding. So that's why 9 foot. You still have a very long string and less copper. If it was a 5 foot small Steinway, the diameter of the brass would be like a rod. Very bad sounding, a rod.
Is there anything else that's creating this glow?
The glow one is the soundboard, that it is an alive soundboard. It sings and resonates. And then the next one is the voicing. The type of voicing we use, the type of hammer we use, that allows us to have such a color.
Yeah, so it feels like it's very alive. It's great for the drama of this piece. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of the middle stuff. There's a lot of waves that I can get out of here. So let's see what happens in this one with the bass. Totally different. It brings out a different part, a different side of this piece with just this great wide space. You hear it right away. And that brilliance on top too. And there's enough to get degrees of emotional differences between the two. And then the third time, I love that the bass carries, so we get a line here. I really heard that cadence really clearly. Yep. So much brighter. So I love that the middle is coming out so easily. And I love that there's sustain that goes a long way.
Yeah.
There's something tear-jerking about like places in Brahms where he pauses, right? So like this, and then there's just a moment of hearing the sustain. And when you have a great sustain to hear, it's very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah, because the negative space jumps out.
even if people's mind are running around and thinking and this and, but when you have that moment, everybody's going like this,
right,
unconsciously,
yeah,
into that empty space.
Right.
So that's why those are the emotions that's humanity, right? That moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like in our tech age, like the idea
Oh,
of pausing, I mean, it's so hard, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're on a computer, it's designed to suck you in. So like in music, in this language that we're dealing with in Brahms's language, the idea of having that moment of suspension, I think it's even more important just to reconnect us to what natural time is like. Yeah.
No, but they're very important. It's good. I didn't think of that,
but also like between the registers, I mean, when we were talking about like Baroque music, like the idea of the bass and what it does versus the middle and the top was very clear on a harpsichord. But here, even though this is meant to be very even, so we can play this and everything is even, we can still get the variety of sound. So like we wanted something with warmth in this register, and then I can get clarity here, and I can change to maybe thinking about sweetness, and then something that's really bright. So then we have like a lot of different colors all on the same chord. And there's a lot of variation within that. Let's see what happens on this piano. So that has a lot of warmth and thickness. Whoa, and the brilliance really jumps out. Yeah, a lot of differences in this one. It's more warm, right? There's more warmth.
If you have somebody that works with force, then they make these pianos very ugly, harsh, because they don't know how to control. You know, we make the keyboard to be functional, but not to conquer. You know.
Right, you're designing it for nuance. You only do customized, specialized sound making because it's such a passion for you.
It is a passion.
So
I like when people are touched.
Well, it's a very physical experience, I think. Listening to good sound, listening for beautiful sound makes me very happy.
Yeah.
The resonance resonates with our internal spaces.
Yeah.
And even if we're not singers, I do feel like we're resonating as an instrument because we are responding. What's a good cadence here? So the top is very malleable, I would say. Like I could inflect it in different ways. Let's bring in a middle voice and see what happens. Make it a little richer, and then let's bring in the bass. And then we'll mix it all up, and we can get this. So there's a lot of flexibility in how it's responding to what I'm trying to play around with. If I were to start with something that is like more of a peach, and this piano gives me a lot of that softness, that gentleness. And then let's try like maybe a different color. Maybe this time that's more of like a revelation, like a higher energy, and I would say maybe more of a warmer color, like a wine, a red wine, Merlot. So that's the same cadence that we tried on that piano. If we bring out the top, let's see what it sounds like on here. And then we bring out the middle. And we'll bring out the bass. I love this bass because it just comes out, and then we'll mix it up. So again, such a variety that you can get out of this one. Now let's try the 9-foot. I feel like we just added honey to it. It's so sweet. Okay, so if we bring out the middle, and I do feel like I can get more sustain on here. I think probably because of the size. You know, if the bass notes die, then the whole harmonic structure isn't as clear. A good piano allows soft textures to not get in the way. Like this left hand, it's so easy to get that blend. And it's interesting, this right hand wants to come out a little cleaner. Feels more intimate. The last piece in Opus 118 it's like a ghost, and it's a scary thing to play if you don't have a good piano, because the risk is going as softly as possible, right? So let's see what we got on these three. It's great. It's so responsive.
Yeah.
I'm like barely touching it, but I know that the sound is going to come. Oh, I love that. There's a lot of tension in that color. Yeah, I think I got that, right?
Yeah.
That face came out.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a requiem here. Gorgeous. Oh, that bass did come out.
Or the concert regulation or voicing.
Yeah.
And that's very much like a racing car for a race.
Yeah.
So everything is on edge in the mechanics.
Yeah.
But then you have to redo it next day because it could jam, it could do things. But like the hammer is hitting the string. So if it is 2 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter, you know, and this is very important when the hammer does this. And just if you know the whip, you know the whip, you can pretty much see how the whip goes. But when you get to the end, it's 2 times the speed of sound. When you, the power is so much. And so it's very much the same on a hammer. It goes, yes, it goes by principles. But when it gets near and then have this effect. The hammer is designed by the maker for a certain tone, very specific sound.
Yeah.
So the hammer is the one that gives that to you. Unfortunately, because of the big holes, everybody went for the hard hammers to hit it hard and have bright sound and all that stuff. But it was not so at the turn of the century because the hammer had to be soft, resilient. The wood is resilient. So look, another secret. It's forgotten because the bright sound it became the
norm.
The norm. Yeah. So what I'm telling is nobody knows it anymore. So when the hammer is firm, that produces the fundamental. We need that. And when it's soft, it creates color. But it's very, very important that the idea of wool was decided for the hammers because of its resilience. And that resilience gives you color and dynamics. But for that, the wool has to be able to move like this. But when you have it's compressed and shrunk, you know, to make it hard, the wool cannot do its job. So we loosen up the side of the hammer a lot. I mean, we spend a lot of time, a week or 10 days, listening to the changes. Because when you manipulate the wool, it takes a day for it to change. But if the side becomes like this is what happens. It goes to the string like this, hits it, and then instead of bouncing back, it does for a millisecond like this. This is all the energy that you have is transmitted into the string. And you know, and so you maximize this. And if the soundboard is done right, then there is plenty of energy for it to woo like that. Both of these soundboards, so we made the soundboards, and our soundboards are very, very much in the design of the 1900s soundboards. And that is very resonant, very sensitive. We could have a piano without a string, and we have a conversation, and then all of a sudden the piano goes boo, 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 just from our words.
You have such a great imagination for wonderful piano sound. Now, physically speaking, what is the engineering that goes into that behind the scenes?
I would approach this question from the point of who is the one listening, which is a human being, and then we have to see what are the wishes and desires of a human being toward a sound wave.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a musical instrument. So if we, then we can be very specific. And let's say if you just agree that you like the singing of a bird, right? We agree. And so there are certain sound characters that a human being likes, right?
Yeah.
Good. So so potentially we have a preconditioned expectation towards sound waves, and we know if it's a lion or so forth. So we have a library of life. Within that we have a certain understanding what is good for me, what is not good for me. So now if we bring it to a musical instrument, to project similar sound waves that are like the human voice or the sound waves you find in nature. Now that's the technical engineering difficulty, to take a piece of wood and steel and try to bring it to a point where you can have goosebumps. And so that's why it took about 200 years for all the piano makers to refine and perfect an instrument for this one, for this human anatomy potentially, so that it could experience contentment through sound waves. And so some of the basic character that you as a pianist using, you will have the character of a note. So you will have a fundamental and then overtone group, and that is very much up to your preference of how much clarity, how much darkness you want, and it's up to your emotional build-up. And that's why, when jazz musicians, they like more of the clarity and the execution, perfection, and then you have the turn of the century art form, which was very dark, like the French pianos. The lyrical quality of the instruments was very, very important. If I look at the instrument, what does it have to do? One, first of all, the keyboard will have to correspond to your anatomy as your bone structure. So there is a certain weight that the human body can work for a long period of time, and I'm not going to go into the details, but the keyboard has to mimic of the movement of your hand, how fast you can move it, and how much is the resistance that you enjoy. Neither too light nor too heavy. You know that everybody's a little different. This is within grams of each person. You mentioned this, the ability to tell a poem through music. So you need the sustain of a sound wave, because if you want to play the next note when it's time emotionally, and you are forced to play the next note when the previous note decays, that's not poetry anymore. Then you are forced to adopt what the limitation of the piano and try to make the best out of it. But ideally, the reason you sit here, because you want to share a poetry, you want to be touched, you want to touch everyone else, and it's very, very difficult to do. That's why most of the instruments don't have it, because it requires the wanting of that long sustain. The piano is not just beautiful, it's raw. That is when the energy is preserved inside the piano. Therefore, the soundboard has to be a piece of wood structure that is waiting for energy. Once you overcome the physical resistance of that, it becomes a soundboard, and it doesn't want to stop. If you want the drama of humanity, you need that capacity, ability. And then the personal touch of you is in very much like a painter. What are the shades that represents you? Is it bluish or reddish, orange, or gray, So that is your personal touch. So based on your anatomy, your ability, the force you're using, and those are given the sustain and the resonance of the instrument that's given. That's absolutely important. But then we put on the top of all this is your poetry. Piano disappear. And at this point, you just have a feeling, a thought, an emotion, and it already is translated into sound wave. Now that's an ideal. And that's why they have been researching this for 200 years.
So thank you, Sujatri. We talked about the intentions of you as a piano maker, creator. We tried out Brahms's musical intentions on these 3 different instruments, and each one has their own character, their own shades of warmth and clarity, and everything in between. It was really fascinating to explore sound with you here at Klavierhaus.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me as artist in residence, because I get to come and really think about sound. Thank you.
Thank you.